The conference room on Proxima Station was cold. General Victoria Hayes noticed it the moment she walked in. She had been to many meetings with the Galactic Council, but something felt different today. The air itself seemed wrong. Victoria was 52 years old and had served in the military for 30 years. She had fought in 3 wars on Earth and led humanity's forces in 2 border conflicts with pirates. Her gray hair was pulled back in a tight bun, and her uniform was perfect. She represented all of humanity at this station, and she took that job seriously. Behind her walked 4 Marines. Corporal Jake Morrison was 24 and always smiled. Private Amy Chen was 22 and the best shot in her unit. Sergeant Brandon Cole was 30 and had a wife and 2 kids back on Earth. Private Lisa Park was 23 and wanted to be a pilot someday. They were Victoria's security team and she trusted them with her life. The meeting was supposed to be about trade routes. 3 species from the Galactic Council wanted to discuss new shipping lanes through human space. The Corinthians were tall reptile creatures with scales that looked like armor. The Zath were insect-like beings with too many legs and black eyes that never blinked. The Luminars were beings made of light and energy, floating in special containers. "General Hayes, please sit," said Commander Zask of the Corinthians. His voice sounded like rocks grinding together. "We have much to discuss." Victoria sat down at the large table. Her Marine stood by the door, ready but relaxed. This was supposed to be a friendly meeting. The Council had promised safe passage and diplomatic protection. Those promises meant something in the galaxy, or they were supposed to. "I have reviewed your proposal," Victoria began. "Humanity is willing to allow limited access through the outer territories, but we need guarantees about—" "We are not here to negotiate," Zask interrupted. His eyes were cold and dark. "We are here to teach." Victoria felt her stomach drop. Something was very wrong. She started to stand, but Zask moved faster than she thought possible. He pulled out a weapon that looked like a twisted metal rod. Energy crackled along its length. A neural disruptor. Those weapons were banned by every treaty in the galaxy. "Marines," Victoria shouted. Jake Morrison moved first. He pulled his rifle up and fired at Zask. But the Corinthian scales were tough. The bullets sparked off his armor. Amy Chen dove to the side and tried to get a clear shot. Brandon Cole rushed forward to protect Victoria. Lisa Park hit the emergency alarm on the wall. Then the Zath attacked. 6 of them had been hiding in the shadows of the room. They moved like water, fast and silent. Their weapons fired bolts of green energy that burned through armor like it was paper. Brandon took a hit to the chest. He fell without making a sound. Amy screamed his name and fired her entire magazine at the Zath soldiers. She hit 3 of them and they went down screeching. "But there were too many. Run, General!" Jake yelled. He grabbed a grenade from his belt and threw it at the Luminars. The explosion filled the room with light and sound. For a moment everyone was blind. Victoria ran for the door, but Zask was there. He grabbed her by the throat with one massive hand and lifted her off the ground. She kicked at him, but it was like kicking stone. He smiled, showing rows of sharp teeth. "Your species is weak," he said. "You need to learn your place." He pressed the neural disruptor against her side and pulled the trigger. Pain exploded through Victoria's body. Every nerve felt like it was on fire. She tried to scream, but no sound came out. Her vision went white, then black, then white again. Through the pain, she heard Jake still fighting. He was shooting and yelling. Then she heard him grunt as something hit him hard. Amy was crying and firing her pistol. Then silence. Then Lisa's voice calling for help on the radio. Then nothing. Zask hit Victoria with the neural disruptor again, and again, and again. She felt her mind breaking apart. Her body stopped responding. She fell to the floor when he finally dropped her. "Leave her alive," she heard someone say. It sounded far away. "We need them to find her. We need them to know what happens when they forget their place." Victoria tried to open her eyes. She could see Jake on the floor near her. His eyes were open but not seeing anything. Blood pooled around him. Amy was a few feet away, her hand still holding her gun. Brandon was by the table, his face peaceful like he was sleeping. Lisa was by the door, her radio still in her hand. They were all dead. Her Marines. Her responsibility. Her people. And she could not do anything to save them. The last thing Victoria saw before darkness took her was Zask looking down at her with those cold reptile eyes. He was laughing. The station's security found them 2 hours later. The Corinthians, Zath, and Luminars were gone. They had left through a private ship that launched the moment the attack ended. The security team found 4 dead Marines and 1 general barely alive. Victoria's heart had stopped twice on the way to the medical bay. The doctors worked for 6 hours to stabilize her. Her brain was damaged from the neural disruptor. They put her in a coma to let her body try to heal. The doctors said she might never wake up. Even if she did, she might not be the same person. The news traveled fast. Within 1 hour, every human ship in Council space received the message. Within 2 hours, Earth knew. Within 3 hours, the president was in an emergency meeting. Within 4 hours, the families of Jake Morrison, Amy Chen, Brandon Cole, and Lisa Park received visits from military officers in dress uniforms. The Galactic Council released a statement 6 hours after the attack. They called it a regrettable incident caused by rogue elements. They offered their condolences. They promised an investigation. They offered 10 million credits in compensation to the families. They thought that would be enough. They thought humans would cry and complain but ultimately accept what happened. After all, humans were young. They had only been in space for 50 years. They were weak compared to species that had been traveling the stars for thousands of years. The Council had no idea what they had just started. They did not understand humans. They did not understand that some things cannot be forgiven with money or apologies. They did not understand that humans protect their own with a fury that burns hotter than any star. Jake Morrison's father was a retired admiral. He watched the Council's statement with cold eyes. Then he made a phone call. Amy Chen's mother was a senator. She watched the statement and felt her heart break. Then she called the president. Brandon Cole's wife held their 2 children and cried. But her tears were not just from sadness. They were from rage. She went on every news channel that would have her. She showed pictures of Brandon. She told stories about him. She made sure everyone knew who he was. She made sure everyone knew what was taken from her. Lisa Park's brother was a pilot in the Earth Defense Fleet. He watched the statement while sitting in his ship. He put his hand on the control panel and made a promise to his sister. On Earth, people filled the streets. They were not protesting. They were not rioting. They were standing together in silence. Millions of people just standing and waiting for their leaders to do something, waiting for justice. President Catherine Sullivan watched the crowds from her office window. She had been president for 3 years. She had worked hard to build good relationships with the Galactic Council. She had believed in diplomacy and peace. She had trusted the Council's promises of safety and cooperation. That trust was gone now, burned away like paper in a fire. She turned to her secretary. Get me Admiral Mitchell, General Webb, and Secretary Grant. Tell them we meet in 1 hour. And someone get me a direct line to the Council. What should I tell them the meeting is about, Madam President? Her secretary asked. Catherine looked back at the crowds. At the signs that read, Remember Jake, Justice for Amy, Brandon's children, and Lisa deserved better. She thought about Victoria Hayes lying in a hospital bed, fighting for her life. She thought about 4 families that would never be whole again. Tell them, she said quietly, that we are discussing Operation Retribution. The secretary's eyes went wide. That was not a name that appeared in any military database. It was not part of any existing plan. The president was creating something new, something that had never been done before. Yes, Madame President, the secretary said and left quickly. Catherine picked up a picture from her desk. It showed her shaking hands with General Victoria Hayes at a ceremony 2 years ago. Victoria was receiving a medal for her service. She was smiling in the picture, proud and strong. We will get them, Victoria, Catherine whispered to the picture. I promise you we will make them pay for what they did. Every single one of them. In the medical bay on Proxima Station, machines beeped and hummed around Victoria's bed. Her body lay still, but inside her mind something was fighting to come back, fighting to wake up, fighting to see justice done. The galaxy did not know it yet, but everything had changed. The humans were not going to accept apologies. They were not going to take the money. They were not going to forget. They were going to teach the Galactic Council a lesson that would echo through the stars for 1,000 years. The Situation Room deep under the White House was quiet. President Catherine Sullivan sat at the head of the table. Around her sat the most powerful people in human military and government. Admiral Ryan Mitchell commanded the Earth Defense Fleet. General Marcus Webb led the ground forces. Defense Secretary Nicole Grant controlled military planning and resources. Also present was Director Paul Chen of Intelligence and Commander Beth Hayes, daughter of General Victoria Hayes. Beth had flown from Mars the moment she heard about her mother. Her eyes were red from crying, but her jaw was set hard. She was 30 years old and commanded a destroyer in the outer territories. She wore her uniform and sat straight in her chair, even though Catherine could see her hands shaking. "Let me be clear about what we know," Director Chen said. He pulled up a holographic display in the center of the table. Images appeared showing the attack. 3 council species planned and executed an attack on our general and her security team. This was not random. This was not an accident. Communications we intercepted show they planned this for 3 weeks. "Why?" Catherine asked. "What did they hope to gain?" "They wanted to send a message," Admiral Mitchell said. His voice was rough with anger. "They see us as children, new to the galaxy, weak. They wanted to remind us of our place. They wanted to scare us. 4 Marines are dead," General Webb said. "Victoria may never wake up." "That is not a message. That is an act of war." "The Council does not see it that way," Nicole Grant said. She looked tired. "I have been on calls with their representatives all day. They keep saying it was rogue elements. They are offering compensation. They want this to go away quietly." "How much are they offering?" Beth asked. Her voice was cold. 10 million credits to each family," Nicole answered, "plus medical care for your mother for life, plus a formal apology at the next council meeting." Beth laughed, but there was no humor in it. "They think they can buy us off. They think money makes this okay." "What about justice?" Catherine asked. "Are they turning over the people responsible?" Director Chen shook his head. "They claim they cannot locate them. Commander Zask of the Corinthians, the Zath soldiers, and the Luminar coordinators have all disappeared. The Council says they are investigating, but they refuse to give us access to their files or systems." Catherine felt cold fury building in her chest. She had spent 3 years building trust with the Council. She had believed they were partners, friends even, but they had killed her people and now they were lying about it. "Show me our options," she said. Admiral Mitchell stood and walked to the display. "We have 300 ships in Council space right now. Trading vessels, exploration ships, and diplomatic escorts. We also have 4 military fleets positioned near the border. If we mobilize everything, we can have 1,200 combat ships ready in 1 week. The Council has over 5,000 ships," Nicole pointed out. "If this becomes a full war, we are outnumbered." "Numbers are not everything," General Webb said. "Our ships are newer. Our weapons are better, and our people want blood. That counts for something." "What about Earth?" Catherine asked. "Can we defend our home if this goes wrong?" "Earth has the orbital defense grid," Admiral Mitchell said, "plus the moon bases and the asteroid fortresses. Nothing gets through that without paying a terrible price. Our colonies are more vulnerable, but we have been quietly reinforcing them for the past year." "You saw this coming?" Catherine asked, surprised. "Not this exactly," the Admiral admitted, "but tensions have been rising. The Council has been making demands, pushing boundaries. We prepared for the possibility of conflict." Catherine looked at Beth. "Commander Hayes, you have not said much. What do you think?" Beth stood up slowly. "Madam President, my mother devoted her life to building peace with the Council. She believed in diplomacy. She believed in finding common ground." Beth's voice cracked slightly, "But they attacked her during a peaceful meeting. They used banned weapons. They killed 4 young people who trusted the Council's promises of safety. My mother would never forgive me if I did not demand justice for them." "Justice or revenge?" Nicole asked quietly. "Is there a difference?" Beth replied. "They took something from us. They need to understand that has consequences." Catherine sat back in her chair. She thought about Jake Morrison, who loved to tell jokes, about Amy Chen, who sent half her pay home to her parents, about Brandon Cole, who had pictures of his kids in his helmet, about Lisa Park, who wrote poetry in her spare time. She thought about their families watching the news and seeing the Council's pathetic statement. "Here is what we are going to do," Catherine said. Her voice was steel. "Admiral Mitchell, you will begin Operation Retribution. I want every human ship out of Council space within 24 hours. All trade agreements are suspended. All diplomatic channels are closed. We are done talking to them. That will hurt our economy," Nicole warned. "We trade heavily with the Council worlds." "Let it hurt," Catherine said. "We will survive. The question is whether they will. Admiral, tell me about our cyber capabilities." Admiral Mitchell smiled, and it was not a nice smile. We are very good at cyber warfare, Madam President. The Council has better technology in many areas, but computer security is not one of them. If you give the order, we can cause serious problems for them. What kind of problems? We can shut down their trading networks. We can freeze their financial systems. We can make their ships think they are somewhere they are not. We can access their communications and find out where those criminals are hiding. And that is just the beginning. Do it, Catherine ordered. I want the 3 species who attacked us isolated. No trade goes in or out. No ships move without us knowing about it. Find Commander Zask and his people. I want them found, and I want evidence that the Council knew about this. Some members of the Council are innocent, Director Chen pointed out. The Viridians, the Delphi, the Architects, and the Silvani had nothing to do with this. They have been vocal about wanting justice. Then they need to prove it, Catherine said. They need to expel the 3 guilty species from the Council. If they will not do that, then they are complicit. What about General Hayes? Beth asked. What if she wakes up? What if she disagrees with this course of action? Catherine looked at Beth with kind but firm eyes. Your mother is a soldier. She understands duty and sacrifice. If she wakes up, she will understand what we had to do. But Beth, I need to know you are with us on this. You knew your mother best. What would she want? Beth was quiet for a long moment. Then she spoke clearly. My mother always said that humans protect their own. She said we are not the strongest or the oldest species, but we are the most loyal. She would want justice for her Marines. She would want the galaxy to know that attacking humans has consequences. Then it is decided, Catherine said. She stood up and everyone else stood with her. As of this moment, we are at war. Not a shooting war, not yet, but a war nonetheless. We will isolate them. We will expose them. We will make them pay for what they did. And if they are foolish enough to escalate, we will show them what humans do when you threaten our people. Admiral Mitchell saluted. Operation Retribution begins now. One more thing, Catherine added. I want to send a message to the Galactic Council. Something short and clear. What should it say? Nicole asked. Catherine thought for a moment. Tell them this, you attacked our general. You murdered our young. You offered us money and lies. This is our response. Operation Retribution has begun. May your gods have mercy because we will have none. The room was silent after she spoke. Then one by one everyone nodded. Send it on all frequencies, Catherine ordered. I want every species in the galaxy to see it. As the meeting broke up, Beth approached Catherine. Madam President, I want to request reassignment. I want to be part of this. I want to help make them pay. Catherine put a hand on Beth's shoulder. You will have your chance, Commander. But right now I need you to go be with your mother. Talk to her. Tell her what we are doing. Even if she cannot hear you, tell her anyway. She needs to know that we did not forget her. Beth nodded, tears in her eyes again. Thank you, Madame President. After everyone left, Catherine stood alone in the Situation Room. She looked at the holographic display still showing the attack. She watched it once more, seeing Victoria fall, seeing the Marines die trying to protect her. I am sorry I could not protect you, she whispered. But I promise you this. They will regret what they did. Every single one of them. Across human space, the mobilization began. Civilian ships powered up their engines and plotted courses home. Military vessels moved into position. Shipyards that built trading ships started building warships instead. Soldiers said goodbye to their families. Pilots checked their weapons. Engineers worked double shifts. On every news channel, the story played over and over. Pictures of Jake Morrison smiling in his uniform. Amy Chen at her graduation from basic training. Brandon Cole holding his baby daughter. Lisa Park with her flight school classmates. People saw those pictures and felt their anger grow. The Galactic Council received President Sullivan's message. They read it in their chambers and felt uneasy. Some of them thought it was a bluff. Humans were too small, too weak, too new to challenge the Council. Others were not so sure. They remembered stories about Earth's wars. Lieutenant Commander Alex Torres sat in a dark room surrounded by computer screens. He was 35 years old and had been hacking systems since he was 12. The military recruited him 10 years ago, when they caught him breaking into their own networks just to prove he could. Now he led the most skilled cyber warfare team in human space. We are in, said Specialist Karen White, sitting at the console next to him. She was 26 and could break encryption faster than anyone Alex had ever seen. The Corinthian communication network is wide open. How long until they notice? Alex asked. Maybe never, Karen said with a small smile. Their security is terrible. It is like they never thought anyone would try to hack them. Download everything, Alex ordered. Messages, financial records, military communications, personal files. I want it all. Around the room, 8 other specialists worked at their stations. They were penetrating the computer systems of 3 entire civilizations. It should have been impossible. The Corinthians, Zath, and Luminars had been in space for thousands of years. Their technology was advanced, but they had grown comfortable and lazy. They never imagined a young species like humans could touch them. They were wrong. Sir, you need to see this, said Corporal David Lee. He was the youngest on the team at 23 but had a gift for finding hidden files. I found encrypted communications between Commander Zask and the Corinthian High Command. They approved the attack on General Hayes. It goes all the way to the top. Alex walked over and read the messages. His hands clenched into fists as he read. The Corinthians had not just allowed the attack. They had planned it. They had chosen Victoria Hayes specifically because she was important. They wanted to prove that humans could be hurt. They wanted other species to see that humans were weak. Send this to President Sullivan immediately, Alex said. Copy it to every news outlet in human space. And make sure a copy gets to the other council species. I want everyone to see what these monsters did. Within an hour, the files were public. The reaction was immediate and explosive. The evidence was undeniable. Commander Zask's own words describing how he wanted to break the human woman. Messages from Zath leaders laughing about the attack. Luminar officials discussing how to hide their involvement. The 4 innocent council species called emergency meetings. The Viridians, peaceful plant-based beings, were horrified. The Delphi, aquatic creatures known for their wisdom, demanded immediate justice. The architects, crystalline beings who valued order above all, called for expulsion of the guilty parties. The Silvani, who had been friends with humanity from the start, wept when they saw the evidence. But the council as a whole did nothing. They debated. They discussed. They formed committees to study the issue. They were afraid to act because it might set a precedent. They worried about their own positions and power. That was a mistake. They are not going to do anything, Admiral Ryan Mitchell told President Sullivan. The council is too afraid to make a real decision. Then we make the decision for them, Catherine replied. Begin the blockade. Captain Sophie Barnes commanded the carrier EFS Vengeance. She was 42 years old and had served in the fleet for 20 years. Her ship was 3 miles long and carried 200 fighter craft. It was one of the most powerful vessels humanity had ever built. All ships, this is Captain Barnes, she said over the fleet communication channel. We are initiating the blockade of Corinthian space. Nothing goes in. Nothing comes out. Any ship that tries to cross the line will be disabled and boarded. Any ship that fires on us will be destroyed. These are our orders. This is our mission. For General Hayes. For our fallen Marines. For Jake, Amy, Brandon, and Lisa. 200 voices replied over the channel. The blockade began. 30 human warships positioned themselves around every entry point to Corinthian territory. Merchant ships approaching the border were turned away. Corinthian vessels trying to leave were stopped. Some captains protested. Some threatened. None of them tried to force their way through. They could see the human ships and their weapons, and they were smart enough to be afraid. Inside Corinthian space, panic began to spread. Their economy depended on trade with other species. Food, medicine, and raw materials all came from outside. The Corinthians had ships full of cargo that could not be sold. Factories that could not get supplies. Millions of civilians who started to worry about the future. Commander Zask watched the news from his home and felt worried for the first time. He called the Corinthian military command. Send the fleet to break the blockade. These humans cannot stop us. The Corinthian fleet prepared to launch. 200 ships powered up their engines. Weapons came online. Crews reported to battle stations. The fleet admiral gave the order to move out. Nothing happened. The ships did not move. The engines started but then shut down. Navigation systems showed error messages. Weapon systems went offline. Communication channels filled with confused and angry voices. What is happening? The admiral demanded. We do not know, sir, his second officer reported. The systems are not responding. It is like something is controlling them remotely. In his dark room, Alex Torres watched his screens and smiled. They are trying to launch their fleet, he said to his team. Shut them down completely. Karen White's fingers flew across her keyboard. Done. Their ships are locked out of their own systems. They would have better luck flying paper airplanes. The Corinthian military spent 3 days trying to regain control of their ships. Human hackers blocked every attempt. When the Corinthians finally managed to start one ship, it immediately flew in circles until it ran out of fuel. The message was clear. Human cyber warfare was beyond anything the Council had ever seen. Meanwhile, the Zath Collective was having its own problems. Their automated trading system suddenly stopped working. Financial transactions failed. Bank accounts showed random numbers. The Zath economy, which depended on precise digital records, fell into chaos. In 1 week, they lost the equivalent of 5 trillion credits. The Luminars, beings of pure energy, thought they were safe. They existed in digital spaces as easily as physical ones. They believed no one could touch them in their own realm. Then human specialists developed something new, something designed specifically to trap and contain energy beings. Commander Chris Wallace led a team that successfully captured 3 Luminar admirals who had been hiding in their home network. The Luminars found themselves pulled into special containment fields that they could not escape. For the first time in their existence, they felt trapped and helpless. "Let us go," the Luminar admiral demanded. Its voice was electronic and filled with fear. "You cannot do this. We are protected by Council law." "Council law?" Chris asked. "Like the law that says you cannot attack diplomats? Like the law that bans neural disruptors? You broke the law first. Now you get to see what happens when you make humans angry." The 3 Luminar prisoners were placed in transparent containers and displayed on every human news channel. The message was simple. No one was untouchable. No one was safe from human justice. Back on Earth, Dr. Emma Rodriguez worked in a secret laboratory under Luna Base. She was 50 years old and the smartest physicist humanity had. For 5 years, she had been working on a project called the Echo Drive. It was a new type of engine that folded space in ways that should not be possible. "The test is ready," she told General Marcus Webb, who had come to observe. "If this works, our ships will move twice as fast as anything in the galaxy. And if it does not work?" Webb asked. "Then the test ship will probably tear itself apart," Emma said honestly. "But I think it will work." The test ship was a small fighter craft piloted by remote control. It powered up the Echo Drive and vanished. For 3 seconds, nothing happened. Then the ship appeared on the other side of the solar system. The distance it traveled should have taken 20 minutes. "It did it in 3 seconds. It works," Emma said, allowing herself a small smile. "It actually works, and how fast can we build these?" Webb asked. "We have been manufacturing them for months," Emma admitted. "We were waiting for approval to test them. We have enough Echo Drives for 50 ships right now. We can make more quickly." "Do it," Webb ordered. "I want every combat ship retrofitted with this technology as fast as possible." 3 months into Operation Retribution, the 3 guilty species were suffering. The Corinthians could not trade, could not move their fleet, and faced growing unrest from their population. The Zath economy was in ruins, and their people were rioting in the streets. The Luminars were terrified because humans had proven they could capture and hold them. The rest of the Galactic Council watched in shock. They had never seen anything like this. Humans were not just fighting with weapons. They were fighting with computers, with economics, with psychology. They were fighting with cold, calculated precision that made even the oldest species nervous. The Viridian ambassador contacted President Sullivan directly. "Please, you must stop this. Yes, those 3 species committed terrible crimes. Yes, they deserve punishment, but you are destroying them completely." "Good," Catherine replied. "That is the point. But the Council will help." The ambassador insisted. "We will force them to turn over the criminals. We will make them pay reparations. Just please stop this campaign." The Zath Collective called an emergency meeting of their war council. Their economy was collapsing. Their people were angry. The blockade on the Corinthians showed that humans were serious about their revenge. The Zath leaders decided they needed to act before humans turned their full attention to Zath space. "We will break the Corinthian blockade," announced war leader Kresh, the most senior Zath military commander. "We will show these humans that the Council is not afraid of them. We will remind the galaxy who really has power." The other Zath leaders agreed. They were proud warriors with a strong military tradition. In their minds, humans were children playing at war. Yes, humans had clever computer tricks. Yes, they were causing economic problems. But when it came to real fighting, ship to ship in space. The Zath believed they would win easily. They were about to learn a terrible lesson. The Zath fleet that approached the Corinthian blockade was impressive. 63 ships ranging from small destroyers to massive battle cruisers. They had fought in dozens of wars across the galaxy. Their crews were experienced. Their weapons were powerful. They moved in perfect formation, confident and proud. Commodore Kevin Drake watched them approach on his command display. He was 45 years old and had been in the fleet since he was 20. He commanded the Third Fleet, which consisted of 20 human warships positioned at the main entry point to Corinthian space. They outnumber us 3-1, his second officer noted nervously. Numbers do not win battles, Kevin replied calmly. Strategy and technology do, and we have both. He opened a fleet-wide channel. All ships, this is Commodore Drake, you have your orders. You know the plan. These creatures think they can bully us because they are bigger and older. Let us show them what happens when you underestimate humans. For Victoria. For our fallen. For Jake, Amy, Brandon, and Lisa, the fleet responded. The Zath fleet leader sent a message. Human vessels, you will stand down and allow us passage. If you do not, we will destroy you. You have 1 minute to comply. Kevin muted the channel and laughed. They still do not understand. He unmuted and replied, Zath fleet, you attacked our people during a peaceful meeting. You murdered 4 Marines and nearly killed our general. You used banned weapons and broke every treaty. Then you lied about it. There will be no compliance. There will be no negotiation. There will only be consequences. The Zath fleet opened fire. Energy weapons lit up space with bright colors. Missiles launched by the hundreds. It was an impressive display of firepower. The kind of attack that would normally destroy any small fleet. But the human ships were not there anymore. They had jumped away using their new echo drives the moment the Zath fired. The weapons hit empty space. Where did they go? War leader Kresh demanded from his flagship. The answer came from behind them. The human ships had jumped to the rear of the Zath formation. They opened fire at point-blank range before the Zath could react. Human railguns fired solid slugs at incredible speeds. Human missiles carried warheads that split into dozens of smaller weapons. Human energy beams cut through shields like they were made of paper. 5 Zath ships exploded in the first 10 seconds. 8 more were disabled, drifting helplessly with their systems destroyed. The Zath fleet spun around to face their attackers, but the human ships jumped again. This time they appeared scattered throughout the Zath formation, making it impossible to fire without hitting other Zath vessels. This is impossible, Kresh shouted. No ship can jump that fast. The calculations alone should take minutes. But human ships could jump that fast. The echo drive changed everything about space combat. Human ships could appear, fire, and disappear before enemies could even target them properly. It was like fighting ghosts. Deploy the drones, Kevin ordered. From each human ship, hundreds of small drones launched. They were each about the size of a person and moved incredibly fast. The Zath tried to shoot them down, but there were too many. The drones swarmed over Zath ships like insects, attaching to hulls and disabling weapons, engines, and shields. But the drones did something else too. They thought. They learned. When the Zath tried a defensive tactic that worked against some drones, the other drones saw it and adapted. They changed their approach. They found new weak points. They communicated with each other and acted like a single organism. The Zath had never seen anything like it. Their advanced civilization, thousands of years old, was being beaten by machines that learned and adapted faster than they could respond. All ships, fall back, Kresh ordered. Retreat to safe distance. But retreat was not easy. The human ships jumped in front of them, blocking their escape. More drones swarmed. More ships took damage. The Zath formation fell apart as ships tried to save themselves instead of working together. Then Kevin gave the order he had been waiting to give. Marine assault teams, you are cleared to launch. From 3 human ships, small boarding craft shot out. They were fast and heavily armored. They ignored the Zath defensive fire and attached themselves to the Zath flagship. Boarding teams are attaching to our hull, a Zath officer screamed. They cannot be serious. They cannot actually try to board us in the middle of a battle. But humans were serious. The Marines cut through the hull and poured into the Zath ship. Lieutenant Danny Pierce led the assault. He was 28 years old and had trained his entire life for combat. Behind him came 30 Marines, all wearing powered armor and carrying weapons designed to fight in close quarters. The Zath crew tried to stop them. The Zath were natural warriors. They were bigger than humans, stronger than humans, and had armor-like shells. In theory, they should have won easily in hand-to-hand combat. Theory met reality, and reality won. The humans moved through the ship like a storm. When Zath soldiers blocked a corridor, the Marines used grenades to clear it. When Zath tried to ambush them, the Marines' armor sensors detected them first. When Zath wounded a Marine, that Marine kept fighting anyway. Private First Class Melissa Cruz took a blade to her left arm. It cut deep, breaking bone. She switched her rifle to her right hand and kept shooting. A Zath warrior charged her, thinking she was weak. She ducked under his attack, placed her rifle against his chest, and fired until he fell. "Cruz, you are hurt," her squad leader called. "I will worry about it later," Melissa replied, her voice tight with pain but steady. "Right now we have a ship to capture." The Zath had never fought anyone like humans before. They had fought species that were stronger or faster or smarter, but they had never fought anyone who simply refused to quit. Humans who got knocked down stood back up. Humans who ran out of ammunition used their fists and feet. Humans who were outnumbered smiled and charged anyway. "Why do they keep coming?" a Zath soldier screamed as he fell back from a human advance. "I shot him twice. He should be down." "They do not know how to give up," another Zath replied. "They are insane." Danny Pierce reached the bridge of the Zath flagship. War leader Kresh stood there with his personal guard, 6 of the biggest and strongest Zath warriors. They raised their weapons. "Do not move, human," Kresh demanded. "You are alone. You cannot defeat us all." Danny looked behind him. His squad had made it to the bridge entrance. Melissa was there, her arm hanging useless but her rifle steady. Corporal James Hart was bleeding from a head wound but standing firm. Private Kyle Brooks had lost his helmet but was smiling. All 30 Marines had made it this far. They were battered, wounded, and exhausted. But they were ready to fight. "I am not alone," Danny said. "I have my people. Just like General Hayes had her Marines. Just like Jake, Amy, Brandon, and Lisa stood together until the end. You taught us an important lesson when you attacked them. You taught us that we need to fight harder, protect better, hit back faster. We will kill you all," Kresh said, but his voice had doubt in it now. "Maybe," Danny admitted, "but you will not survive it. And then more humans will come, and more after that. Because that is what we do. We protect our own, and when you hurt our people, we do not stop until justice is done." Kresh looked at the humans. He saw their determination. He saw that they would die before they surrendered. He thought about the battle outside, about how his fleet was being destroyed by ships that moved like nothing he had ever seen. He thought about the economic chaos humans had caused. He thought about how his entire civilization was suffering because they had underestimated these young creatures. "I surrender," he said quietly, lowering his weapon. "I surrender to human authority." The battle ended 17 minutes after it started. The Zath had lost 43 ships. 20 were destroyed completely. 23 were disabled and drifting. The humans had lost 0 ships. Some had taken damage, but none were destroyed. The galaxy watched the battle through sensors and communication channels. Every species saw what happened. They saw the Zath, proud warriors with centuries of military tradition, broken in less than 20 minutes. They saw human ships move in ways that should not be possible. They saw human Marines board an enemy flagship in the middle of battle and actually succeed. Fear spread through the Galactic Council. If humans could do this to the Zath, what could they do to others? The Luminar Collective, who had thought themselves untouchable as beings of pure energy, sent an immediate message to President Sullivan. 3 months had passed since the battle with the Zath fleet. The galaxy was different now. Everyone knew what happened when you attacked humans. Everyone understood that humanity was no longer the weak young species that could be pushed around. They were something new, something dangerous, something that demanded respect. The Galactic Council called for an emergency summit. They met on a neutral station called Unity Point, far from any homeworld. Representatives from all 7 council species were there. President Catherine Sullivan arrived with a delegation that included General Victoria Hayes, Admiral Ryan Mitchell, and Commander Beth Hayes. The humans walked into the council chamber like they owned it. The council chamber was a massive room with seats arranged in a circle. Holographic displays showed each species symbol. The Viridians, Delphi, Architects, and Sylvani sat on one side. The Corinthians, Zath, and Luminars sat on the other, but their seats were separated from the rest, marked as under investigation. It was a small gesture, but it showed that the innocent species were distancing themselves from the guilty ones. Chancellor Morven of the Viridians spoke first. His plant-based body glowed softly as he addressed the room. "We are here because terrible crimes were committed. 4 human Marines were murdered. General Hayes was nearly killed. This was done during a diplomatic meeting under Council protection. This cannot be allowed to stand." "We have already expressed our regret," said the Corinthian representative, a younger leader named Saren, who had replaced the previous council member. "We have offered compensation. What more do humans want?" Victoria stood up. She had recovered much of her strength, though she still walked with a cane. The neural disruptor damage had left permanent marks on her body, but her mind was sharp and her will was iron. "What more do we want?" she asked quietly. "Let me tell you what we want. We want the people responsible for the attack. All of them, not just Commander Zask, who we captured ourselves. We want every Zath soldier who participated. We want every Luminar official who approved the plan. We want every Corinthian leader who knew about it and did nothing. That would be dozens of people," Saren protested. "You cannot expect us to turn over our own citizens for human justice." "Watch me," Victoria replied. Her voice was cold as ice. "You had 3 months to police yourselves. You did nothing. You offered money and apologies, but no real justice. So now you get human justice whether you like it or not." Admiral Mitchell activated a holographic display. It showed military positions around all 3 guilty species territories. "As you can see, we have blockaded all of your space. No trade, no travel, no communication except what we allow. We have crippled your economies. We have disabled your fleets. We have captured your military leaders, and we can keep doing this for years if necessary." "This is an act of war," shouted the Zath representative. "No," Catherine said, standing to join Victoria. "This is an act of justice. War is what happens when we get tired of waiting and decide to just take what we want. Trust me. You do not want to see what human war really looks like." The room went silent. Everyone remembered the battle footage. The Zath fleet destroyed in 17 minutes. Human Marines boarding a flagship in the middle of combat. Ships that moved faster than anything in the galaxy. Weapons and tactics that seemed impossible. "What are your terms?" asked the Delphi representative, their aquatic voice translated by machines. "What will it take for you to end this campaign?" Catherine pulled out a datapad and read from it. "First, all individuals involved in the attack will be turned over to human custody. They will face trial in human courts. If found guilty, they will serve sentences in human prisons. Second, the 3 guilty species will pay reparations, not in credits but in territory. The Corinthians will cede 3 border systems to humanity. The Zath will give us mining rights to their asteroid belt. The Luminars will provide us with energy technology. Third, humanity will establish permanent monitoring stations in your space. We will have eyes on your military movements and government communications. If we even suspect you are planning another attack on any species, we will act. Fourth, humanity will be granted full council membership with veto power. We are done being junior partners. We are done being treated like children. From now on, we have an equal voice. Fifth and most important, you will fund and help build a memorial station. It will be called Hayes Station, named after General Victoria Hayes. It will honor the 4 Marines who died, Jake Morrison, Amy Chen, Brandon Cole, and Lisa Park. Every ship that travels through this sector will see it and remember what happens when you attack humans." The Corinthian representative looked furious. "These terms are too harsh. You are humiliating us. You are taking our territory and our freedom." Victoria walked up to him slowly. Even with her cane, she was intimidating. "You want to talk about harsh? Let me tell you what harsh is. Harsh is being attacked during a peaceful meeting by people you thought were friends. Harsh is watching 4 young people die trying to protect you. Harsh is being hit with a neural disruptor over and over while someone laughs at your pain." She leaned close to him. "Harsh is knowing that your daughter will grow up without a mother because someone decided to send a message. Harsh is 4 families that will never be complete again. That is harsh. What we are offering you is mercy." The Corinthian representative had no response. He looked down at his hands, unable to meet Victoria's eyes. The architect representative, a being made of living crystal, spoke in a voice like chimes. "We support the human terms. They are fair given what was done. We vote to accept all conditions and recommend expulsion of the 3 guilty species from council leadership positions." The Silvani representative, A gentle being who had been friends with humanity from the start nodded. We agree. This should never have happened. The Council failed to protect a diplomatic mission. We failed General Hayes and her Marines. The human terms are just. The Delphi added their support. We have studied human history. You are a species that fights each other with terrible weapons, yet you also have strong rules about honor and justice. You could have destroyed all three of these species completely. Instead, you are giving them a path forward. That shows wisdom. The Viridian Chancellor stood. Then it is decided. The three species involved in the attack have 1 week to comply with all human demands. If they do not, the Council will not interfere with any further human actions. We wash our hands of this matter. You cannot do this, the Zath representative cried. We are founding members of this council. You cannot just abandon us. You abandoned your honor when you attacked unarmed people, the Chancellor replied. You abandoned your principles when you used banned weapons. You abandoned the council when you broke our most sacred rules. We are not abandoning you. We are holding you accountable. The summit ended with the terms accepted. The three guilty species had no choice. They could comply with human demands or face complete destruction. Some of their leaders argued for continued resistance. Those leaders were quickly removed from power by their own people, who understood that fighting humans was suicide. Over the next 2 months, the individuals responsible for the attack were turned over to human custody. Commander Zask was the first. He faced trial on Earth, broadcast across the galaxy. The evidence against him was overwhelming. His own words, his own plans, his own actions. He was found guilty and sentenced to life in a human prison facility. The Zath soldiers who participated were also tried and sentenced. The Luminar officials who approved the attack faced justice. In total, 47 individuals were held accountable for the attack on General Hayes and her Marines. The territory transfers happened as agreed. Humanity gained new systems and resources. More importantly, they gained something else: respect. Every species in the galaxy now knew that humans were not to be trifled with. They kept their promises. They honored their fallen. And they never ever forgot. Hayes Station was built exactly as specified. It was a beautiful structure, combining human design with elements from the 4 friendly council species who contributed to its construction. At its center was a memorial garden with 4 statues. Jake Morrison with his smile, Amy Chen with her rifle, Brandon Cole holding a picture of his family, Lisa Park looking up at the stars she loved. The dedication ceremony was attended by thousands. The families of the fallen Marines were there. Victoria Hayes stood before the memorial and gave a speech that was broadcast across the galaxy. We are here to honor 4 young people who died doing their duty, she began. Jake Morrison, who made everyone laugh even in difficult times. Amy Chen, who never missed a shot and never missed a chance to help someone. Brandon Cole, who loved his family more than anything. Lisa Park, who dreamed of flying among the stars. They were not soldiers who died in glorious battle. They were not warriors who fell fighting impossible odds. They were young people doing a routine security job who were murdered by cowards during a peaceful meeting. They deserved better. They deserved to grow old, to have families, to see the galaxy in peace. But their deaths were not meaningless. They changed everything. Because of them, the galaxy learned that humans protect their own. Because of them, criminals learned that there are consequences for